Okay guys, here is my model of aerobic cellular respiration. Aerobic cellular respiration begins with glycolysis in the cytoplasm of all cells. It starts when a glucose is cut in half, which forms two pyruvate molecules, which are 3 carbon sugars. In order to do this, the cell consumes 2 ATP, which are these. The phosphates are orange and the ADP is teal. So these are consumed in order to cut this glucose in half. And the process of glycolysis produces 4 ATP, but since you use 2, there's only a net gain of 2 ATP. Glycolysis also results in the production of 2 NADH from NAD, which is orange, which means that a hydrogen and an electron are added on to NAD, resulting in 2 NADH molecules. Following glycolysis, the 2 pyruvate molecules are transported into the mitochondria through the double membrane and into the mitochondrial matrix. The next thing that will occur is the link reaction. So what will happen is a carboxyl group is removed from both of the pyruvate molecules and a new molecule is formed, which is called acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A will then be used in the Krebs cycle. The link reaction also produces 1 NAD, which is orange, 1 NADH. Following the link reaction, the Krebs cycle will occur, which is also in the mitochondrial matrix. And what will happen is that the 2 acetyl-CoA molecules are completely oxidized and they are converted into carbon dioxide. So for this, I'm going to just look at 1 acetyl-CoA molecule. 1 acetyl-CoA molecule will eventually be converted into 2 carbon dioxide. And this round of the Krebs cycle will also produce 3 NADH. So I'm attaching a hydrogen and an electron to my NAD+. And it will produce 1 FADH2, which would have 2 hydrogens, but it's really small, so it's hard, and 1 ATP molecule. So for each acetyl-CoA, this Krebs cycle would happen twice because my glucose was cut in half, and so that resulted in 2 pyruvate and 2 acetyl-CoA. So for 1 glucose molecule, you would double these numbers from the Krebs cycle to have your final yield. Okay, following the Krebs cycle is the electron transport chain. So we're going to transport our electron carrying molecules over here to the inner mitochondrial membrane and do the electron transport chain. So what will occur here is that NADH and FADH2 will drop off their electrons, and when they do that, they will also drop off their protons, their hydrogens. So now they are back to their original forms of FAD and NAD. I'll move them out of the way. The electrons are transported through the electron transport chain because of increasing electronegativity. So these proteins are pulling these electrons down the chain. Eventually, the final electron acceptor is this teal molecule, which is oxygen, because it's the most electronegative. So here it goes down the chain and then accepted by oxygen. Each oxygen will accept 2 electrons and 2 protons, and so it will become H2O, which is water. And they won't stick on there, of course, because they're dried out. And then the water will be removed. The protons are pumped through these ion channels. So they move through into the intermembrane space. And they're also moving through these channels as well. Moving through the channels. My channels are falling apart. And they're building up in the intermembrane space because they're protons, so they're charged, which means that they're unable to diffuse either out of the mitochondria or back into the matrix. So how they'll move through the membrane is through this curly white molecule, which is ATP synthase. And what they'll do is they'll move through the molecule, which will cause it to turn, which if I had more hands, this would be spinning. So the molecule is moving through, and that's creating enough energy to attach a phosphate to an ADP, which is oxidative phosphorylation, and now you've created ATP. This process creates a ton of ATP. It's super efficient. It would create about 36 ATP, depending on the efficiency of the cell. So that's it. That's chemiosmosis and electron transport chain working together to produce a ton of ATP, which only happens if you have oxygen, and that's why it's called aerobic respiration.